So day 23 and I'd made it to Koyuk. So I was now about 780 miles along the trail, or 1,266 kilometres. So I was getting pretty close. I knew I had 200 miles to go, so I was feeling pretty confident. So I had a good sleep in Koyuk. It was a chance to rejig some of my kit again, air things out, just make a few changes, repack everything, just get everything sorted again, to now head along the coast and do the final few stages to Nome. So I felt pretty good. I'd woken up all right, and I was looking at what I needed to get done today. So today, Elim was around about 43 miles or 70 kilometres away, and I knew there was a shelter cabin at the Quick River around about 21 miles or 34 kilometres, and then there was potentially another one at Moses Point, which was about 34 miles or 55 kilometres from where I was. So looking at time and space, I thought I'd probably get to the Quick River around lunchtime or just after. And then I was hoping to get to Moses Point around dark, sleep there, and then kind of looking at getting into Elim and then Goulburn the next day. So just trying to look at how I could split my days up best I could. So after getting the fresh food, we had a pretty solid breakfast at Koyuk, and actually it gave me a lot of energy. It made me feel really good just getting a really good solid fresh food and having a decent sleep. And then I was ready to go. So after we'd sort of stopped messing about, we kind of got back on the trail. So heading out of Koyuk, it was across a little bit of sea ice, which was quite easy, and then up over a small range. So the small range was fairly bare again. There wasn't a lot of trees around anywhere in any of the sort of trail areas that we were coming across. A little bit of wind around, but not too much. So I sort of went over the top of the small range, had a really good sled ride down the other side, and then it was just down onto just the flat coastal region. So along there was kind of the Quick River, which was an area that they'd called the blowholes, or had been called one of the blowholes. So this is where the wind kind of rips down the river and then pushes out to sea. So thankfully the wind wasn't too bad as I was sort of crossing the Quick River area. It can be sort of quite dangerous if the winds get too high. So it was a little bit cold, but not too bad. So heading across there, kind of hit the shelter cabin at around about lunchtime and decided to stop in there for a coffee and a feed. So again, boiled some water. Didn't really need to melt snow because I'd filled everything up before I'd left Koyuk, and I knew I was going to have enough to sort of get me through the night. So, and I sort of figured once I got to Moses Point, I'd melt some water there, or snow there for water for the following day. So after sort of having a feed, it was getting a little bit cold in the cabin, and I could feel the wind sort of picking up, and it had picked up as we got there, so we sort of sheltered around one side to sort our gear before we went in. We sort of set off and the wind picked up and it was really, really exposed, so it was pretty easy going. And then as night started to fall, I could see the Moses Point fishing villages or cabins off in the distance, and then another sort of cabin on the trail, and the indications were that the shelter cabin was right on the trail. So it was sort of starting to get dark, it was getting cold, and I was just hoping to close on this cabin as quick as I could. And it seemed to drag out for hours. And then as I got closer, I could sort of notice that this wasn't a normal looking cabin. It just didn't look right. And I kind of thought in my mind that this isn't it. And then there was all these other sort of fishing cabins, and I didn't really want to go in there because it could take me forever to try and find one that's open, and I just didn't want to go through that and potentially not even find one. So as we got to this cabin, it turned out to be a search and rescue building. It was completely locked up, and it had signs everywhere saying do not enter. The only thing it really offered was a little bit of shelter from the wind around the back side of it. So I sort of looked at it. I'd covered 55 kilometres or sort of 34 miles or whatever it turned out to be, and I had about 9 to go to Elim. And looking on the GPS or on our maps, it looked like it was road. So I sort of went up, hit a little bit of a fishing road, and then it turned into actual proper road, so graded road. So from there it was really easy going. It was up over a bit of a range, but there was just a really, really good Northern Lights show going on at the same time. So it was really quick, really easy going along the road, and I felt actually really good. I started to get a bit of pain around my back and my knees and that sort of thing, but there was enough distraction not to worry about it too much. And then down the other side, the ice road was really quick, so it was a really quick sled ride down into Elim. And then we sort of followed some of the trails that some of the other races had and found the school. As we got to the school, it was around about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I figured the school was going to be locked and we're probably just going to have to sleep out the front at the doors. But as we got there, we seen movement inside. The school counsellor had been up watching us on the tracker, so we sort of went inside. He set us up, sort of had a bit of a hot food, got everything sorted, but I was pretty quick to get down to bed because I knew at 2 o'clock I was going to be burning daylight hours for the next day, because a decent sleep here meant I wouldn't leave till mid-morning and that would burn into the next day. And plus he was saying students had come in at about 7 o'clock, so I was keen to get down and try and get myself 4 to 5 hours of sleep if I could before they started to wake me up. So it was sort of quick to get everything sorted, get everything out to dry, to air, and then set myself up and down into bed, because I was trying to get myself in the best position so I could get as much done the next day as I could. But I was sort of happy that I'd covered the 55 miles, I was sort of happy that I'd covered the 43 miles to here, or 70 kilometres, because I'd bitten off a bigger chunk than what I expected. So I was still in pretty good position, even though it was pretty late in the night.